like the previous presenters, I wanted to thank Dean Mosier and UNR for inviting us to participate, and particularly want to thank Fred for giving us a chance to talk about rural communities in particular. And that's going to be the focus of what I'm going to talk about. Carlene mentioned the partnerships with EDA, and it's really a key in the partnerships that we have with GoEd. In the governor's budget, he is proposing that we go after $100 million in federal funding over the next 2 years. And EDA will be one of those big partners that we will be working with to achieve that goal. Oh, let's see if I can get the next slide. There we go. So I'm going to give a quick overview about what we do at GoEd, and then I'm going to jump into a lot of what's happening in our rural economy. What are we going to look forward to in this next year in rural Nevada? And then I'm going to turn it over to Tatjana, who's going to hit it through the bleachers with a really great information on what the state economy is looking like and how we're going to recover from the pandemic. We should know that our executive director, Michael Brown, talks quite a bit about the size of government in Nevada. It's one of the smallest. And at GoEd, we have about 40 people in our department across the state. And these are the areas that we're working on to diversify and strengthen the state's economy. I'm not going to go into too much detail on these, but our focus today is going to be talking about business development and also our rural economic and community development programs. We can't get this done without partnerships. And as Carlene mentioned in her presentation with EDA, our major, these are the boots on the ground, the champions of rural economic development, our economic development authorities across the state. Those that aren't listed on here, of course, are EDON and the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance. But these are the ones that are focused specifically on rural Nevada issues. Sheldon Mudd covers the northeastern part of the state up in Elko County, White Pine, Eureka. We've got Rob Hooper on the western side of the state here. Paul Miller is southwest central region, down the center, Esmeralda and Nye County. And we've got Jeff Fontaine, who focuses on Lincoln County. And new to this list, we've got Bruce Breslow, who's focused on Churchill and Fallon. A little bit about how rural Nevada contributes to the overall Nevada economy. You can see here that the top 5 exports that we have are government, mining, manufacturing, retail, and accommodation and food services here. These numbers stay pretty constant. They've gone up a little bit since last year when I talked to you, but they're relatively steady. So the stalwarts of the rural economy are mining, agriculture, and tourism. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the mining sector here. This is what you're looking at here identifies really what the strength is of your industries compared to the US economy overall. And you can see mining is listed as one of those star industries. It's certainly leading the way there. And one of the things to note on this is that Sheldon Mudd has been working for the last 5 years. He started at GoEd as a mining specialist. He's been working over the last 5 years to build relationships with our Canadian mining partners up in Ontario. And he has successfully worked a 3-year agreement with a group called Mine Connect to bring a mining incubator to Elko. And this will continue to strengthen that mining sector and bring a lot of innovation. I think the big thing when we look at mining, it's typically the gold industry that is our #1 export from the state of Nevada. But what we are seeing in mining is the growth of lithium development in the state. The state as a whole, or as a country as a whole, exports produces 1% of the lithium in the entire world. And Nevada is really poised to become one of the leaders in lithium development. So we've got those natural resources, and we continue to do this. The automation of mining, we've been working with companies to look at how we can utilize some of the mining sites that we have to do some really innovative autonomous and drone use, and really bring technology into the mining sector there. It will continue to be one of the strong points of our state. In agriculture, the big challenge to watch is we're in a La Nina season. Those of us who enjoy skiing and snowboarding in the mountains are noticing we're not quite getting the snowfall that we're after. And if you're a farmer or an ag producer, you're also seeing a real challenge when it comes to a dry winter that we have. This is projecting the extreme and exceptional drought conditions that we're facing here. And over last summer, a lot of us remember the smoke that set in. That also has a huge impact on our ag producers and how their crops survive that impact. So one of the considerations when you look at what's going to happen with mining is with the drought and agriculture is you're going to get pest invasions of grasshoppers and crickets possibly. Again, the impacts of fires, this will increase that focus. Any reductions in AUMs and water quality issues. And it will definitely impact the agriculture production that we have. From a tourism standpoint, a lot of our rural communities depend on tourism. Our state plan estimates and shows a real significant hit to that because of the shutdowns that we've seen, not only in our state, but in surrounding states, and the reduction in international travel to the state. So we're projecting a 7% drop in that compared to a year where we wouldn't be having restrictions on travel. In the research for today's presentation and looking at a McKinsey report, they're forecasting that domestic travel is going to continue to surge. So those old family road trips are going to continue to happen. People are going to rediscover their Nevada, as this Travel Nevada ads say, and international travel will continue to lag. Leisure travel is very important. And while those that have been fortunate not to have lost their job during this, there's been some significant savings, and there is a theory out there that a lot of folks will have some pent up time and money on their hands that they'll want to get out and explore. And that's just a very basic need. In our state, we have a new outdoor recreation division and a new outdoor recreation administrator. There's a potential for growth in that area of $4.5 billion for the state of Nevada, and encouraging that outdoor recreation. Millennials enjoy spending their money on experiences over stuff. And so this is one area where Nevada can really shine and potentially see a large economic growth there. Out in Douglas County, they continue to work on recovery efforts up at the lake. There has been quite a bit of folks and traveling to that beautiful Lake Tahoe to enjoy that. And they continue to work on education and training programs with Join to keep the area safe. And then just announced our 2 NHL hockey games that will be happening. Unfortunately, we won't be able to go to them in person, but they will be taking place in February at the Edgewood Tahoe Golf Course. In diversifying rural economy, this, we just talked about the bedrock of what rural economies are based on. But there's also a push to diversify the rural economy. And so these are some of the new technologies that we're seeing coming into our state. Again, it's the innovation in mining and the push towards lithium development. Out in Lyon County, recently at a Go-Ed board meeting, a company called American Battery Technology received a tax abatement for their project out there. That will bring in quite a bit of revenue and an average, about 50 jobs with an average wage of $45 an hour. This economic impact over the next 10 years is expected to bring in about 348 million and 89 jobs. In Humboldt County, there's more lithium development up there at Thacker Pass with Lithium Nevada Corporation and making some lithium batteries. And that's going to bring quite a bit of jobs and growth to the center, and also a need for infrastructure, rail, and the I-80 corridor to get that product out to the market. One of the, I think, most interesting projects, and I had the opportunity to meet these folks when I first joined Go-Ed 3 years ago, and a company called West Coast Salmon just announced their first round of funding that they were able to get to start aqua farming in Pershing County. One of the things that they were really looking at in picking Nevada as a location to farm salmon in Nevada was that our distance from the ocean. And here again, you're looking at innovative use of water. So even farming in a desert, you think of salmon, not something usually you would think of when you think of rural Nevada, but one of the ways that innovative use of water can be done in a closed loop system here. Out in Churchill and Lyon, they have recently announced the Western Nevada Commerce Center Industrial Park, which will continue to grow and build on the work at Trick. And then in Churchill County, the Energy Aegis project. And this is a really interesting project that will be the largest carbon neutral industrial park in the United States using local renewable resources. In Nye and Esmeralda County, lithium continues to be the story there. There's quite a bit of growth in the gold sector and also in lithium mining. And just this week, Ioneer, a company that's, located in Esmeralda County, lithium for electric vehicle production. But I think beyond the electric vehicle production, I think what we need to look at here is energy storage. Lithium batteries are great for moving us and reducing our greenhouse gas impact, but the need for energy storage is going to continue to be something that's really interesting. Tesla is working on a project over in California, and they've also worked down in Australia in storing energy. And during the fires, we see how, and high wind events, how energy is shut off to a lot of folks. And so the ability to be able to store energy in lithium batteries for household use and business use is going to continue to grow. Some of the planning efforts, there's lots of planning efforts happening across the state. We've got UNR that's leading the pack. They are such a strong partner. Fred has worked tirelessly with Sheldon Mudd out at NNRDA to complete a SEDS for the region, and also put in the paperwork with EDA to become our second economic development district in the state, next to the Western Nevada Development District. He's also working with Paul Miller on a SEDS update for Nye and a strategic plan update for Nye County and also for Esmeralda County. I wanted to also mention that the Cooperative Extension Office has been across the state working on their NEAT process, and they continue to do this now virtually with White Pine County, Pershing, Churchill, and Lander. That's going to be a really great tool that feeds into the use of the SEDS and provides really a data-driven decision-making for rural communities, a tool that they haven't had in the past. And it really layers nicely with the work and planning efforts going on with other groups. The Western Nevada Development District has been a rock star when it comes to getting EDA grants. They received a $400,000 EDA grant to complete an economic recovery and resiliency project that they are currently working on. I'm sure many of you are participating in this effort, and Cheryl Gonzalez and the team at WNDD is doing a great job. Also working with Heidi Lesby out in Lovelock on a downtown visioning session for using Brownfields grant that they had received previously. That Brownfields grant for Pershing County was $600,000. Travel Nevada has been working on a Lincoln County destination development to improve the tourism and really help the community determine what their focus is in attracting visitors to that region. It's really a great team effort, and Travel Nevada is one of the best partners for rural communities in funding projects and helping them get going. INDOT is working on a state rail plan and also a plan to update their airport and heliport system plan. That effort is going on right now. That infrastructure is going to be really important in the next year. And then our great partners at USDA with the READY initiative. They've been working over the past year with the Washoe tribe of California and Nevada. One of the key things that they're looking at is resiliency as well in alternative energies and food sovereignty. So in the governor's budget that he has proposed and in his State of the State address, he mentioned funding the $75 million for the state infrastructure bank. This was set up as part of our a bill, AB 399, set this measure up, and it was known as the infrastructure bank bill. This would actually put some money behind that so we could get some infrastructure in place. The northern part of the state has done a great job in diversifying after the slowing gaming. The southern part of the state has now an immediate need to work on some broadening that diversification in the southern part. So a lot of those infrastructure projects will probably be based in the southern part, but I really wanted to focus on the ones in rural Nevada that continue to be challenges. That's broadband. We continue to see that need, and especially with the COVID crisis and working from home, as most of us are doing, students staying at home to learn. The need for people to be connected is the same need that folks had for electricity. It's just that critical. If business is going to grow, if our communities are going to be strong and connected to the economy, then we need to have a stronger broadband in the state. Natural gas along the eastern corridor of our state, extending those lines so that businesses can continue, and working with our PUC to make sure that we don't have regulations in place that stand in the way, and that we modernize that to allow for natural gas expansion. Electricity, not only in the eastern corridor, but along the western corridor of the state is going to be extremely important. And the folks at NNDA and Rob Hooper's team are working on that western corridor, as well as that rail, north and south rail. That will be a great way that we're able to get our products from rural Nevada out to the market. One of the challenges that we're going to face and continue to face is water. If you're growing, you got to have water for communities. And with the drought situation, using technology and a company called WaterStart to make sure that we're being innovative leaders when it comes to using that precious resource as best we can. I'm not going to go through all the details. You'll get these slides, but the digital divide, I mentioned broadband. This is from Nancy Gwynn at the Gwynn Center in Las Vegas at UNLV. It's really important that we continue to focus on broadband and make sure that every Nevadan is connected and every Nevada company can be connected to broadband services. Entrepreneurship, again, from the McKinsey report, looking at this and also our state plan. We're seeing an increase in startups. Nevada ranks 6th in the United States for startup job creation. We still have a long way to go here, but it is something we worked on. My coworker Tatjana and I put together with Startup NV, UNR, Entrepreneurs Assembly, and the partners down below, and in RDA, Great Basin College, a real team effort to bring the startup community that started in Reno out to rural Nevada. We had our first virtual pitch session that was held in November, and 5 companies pitched virtually. I think, again, pointing to the innovation of rural Nevada, these products, New Tech was our winner, and they received a cash prize from our sponsor, NV Energy. New Tech was working on a cleaner way to change your car oil, a product that would help with that. Goat Shell was a really great company that turns your pickup truck into a camping unit. GL Innovations is a battery interrupter that shuts off the electrical to your vehicle or equipment if it tips over. Water Tech is working on a desalination process, again, in that innovative water use category. And then we had a nonprofit that is called the Little Rider Foundation that is helping kids to learn how to ride bikes. It was really amazing team effort that brought everybody together to do that. I'm going to finish up here with a few last slides so that Tatjana has time to get through hers. CDBG, the COVID money, the money from the federal government. Normally we get about $3.3 million for our regular community development block grant program. With the coronavirus money, we will be seeing 17 million. This funding is available for rural communities, and we will be working with entitlement communities on this. And again, I want to mention the Main Street program, another great partner agency. We've been meeting every other week since the coronavirus has started. This program started in 2017. We've grown to have 12 communities, 2 urban programs, and 10 rural communities. This all started in Gardnerville with the program that has been running out there for about 12 years now. And then our Main Street partners, Travel Nevada, the SHPO office, Outdoor Recreation, Small Business Development Center. We're just so grateful to have connecting our rural communities with all these state agencies and federal partners to help with downtown redevelopment. All right, and again, I'm gonna mention here about, oops, sorry. I'm gonna go back here. Just some of the really cool things that have happened. I know COVID has a lot of negative impacts, but it's really brought us together as a state here with the public-private partnerships. And in rural Nevada, there have been loan funds put together by Paul Miller with the mining industry, utilizing a USDA revolving loan fund. Nevada Gold Mines has put together a $5 million fund to help businesses and provide needed capital to keep them operating. I can't say enough about the Rural Nevada Development Corporation. They've been able to utilize EDA loans and get $6.3 million to do recovery grant assistance. Douglas County is working, supporting 64 businesses and getting about $500,000 out. The Paycheck Protection Program has got a second round, so that will be helping. And then just the Spotlight White Pine Main Street program and Caroline McIntosh, who has just done an incredible job of making sure that every business has the support that they need, particularly in women and minority-owned businesses. All this amazing work hinges upon one thing, and that's making sure that we are all doing our part to keep the spread down and wearing masks, social distancing, doing it not only to keep our friends and family safe, but to keep our businesses open. And With that, I'm going to turn it over to Tatjana. Sorry, I went a little long on that, Tatjana.
Good morning, everybody. I would like to thank Fred and you and our team for putting together this event. My name is Tatjana Vukovic. I'm Business Development Manager, Director for GOED. Fred, just before I start, I would like to know how are we with the time? Since I have a couple of slides that I need to cover, I just want to make sure that I'm good with that.
I think we can give you about 6 to 7 minutes, if that's okay.
Sure. Yeah, let's go quickly over that, and I'm going to share my slides now. So basically, what I kind of wanted to look into is what was the economic composition prior to COVID pandemic. Then kind of look into some numbers and the data, what happened during the COVID pandemic. Which we definitely all kind of are aware of the situation. The CARES assistance that GOED put together for small businesses, and then job forecast that RCG Economics did, and it's a part of economic recovery and resilience plan, and then certain things that we need to watch in 2020. And I'm sure I will not be able to go over all these slides, but I will start with what was the economic composition before COVID, and we can see why diversification, now that we are in this situation, we can see why diversification is really important for Nevada economy. We can see here on this data that we started that process in this 9-year period. We are slowly moving from dependence on leisure and hospitality and kind of putting some investment in different industry like manufacturing and construction. If you look at the two largest by population areas, Northern Nevada and Southern Nevada, we can see that definitely Northern Nevada is more diversified when it comes to number of jobs. And we see a significant increase in jobs within manufacturing. And then we can also see that in Southern Nevada, 26.8% or 27% of the whole workforce was within leisure and hospitality. As a result of that, we started 2020 really strong. We had in February of 2020 almost 1.4 jobs in Nevada economy, and then COVID hit us really hard. So in March we had to close non-essential businesses, and we lost 287,000 jobs. And unemployment rate rise up to 30.1%, which was the highest unemployment rate in the nation. Service-based industries were hit the hardest, so they were down 22% versus goods-producing industries that were down 3%. However, during the summer months, COVID infections rate kind of slowed down, so we started to pick up some of these jobs, and by November, we have recovered almost 62% of the jobs that we lost during the pandemic. In November, unemployment rate was 10.1%. And then if you remember that composition between North and South, we can see why do we have such a huge difference in unemployment rate between Las Vegas area versus Reno area. So recession that happened due to the COVID definitely highlighted these differences in Nevada economy. So in order to kind of ease these negative effects in the economy, GOED put together two programs, commercial rental assistance programs, and then pandemic emergency technical support grant programs. Commercial rental assistance program is closed. However, PETS program is still open, and we are still processing application. It's a huge program, and as of Wednesday, governor requested additional funding to put into this program. We started with 51 million, and another 50 million is going to be added to the program. I wanted to talk a little bit about the forecast and what can we expect at 2021. This forecast was done by RCG Economics. It's really interesting information. I would encourage you to go to our state plan for recovery and resilience and get all the information. But it's a really, really great forecast that they did. And we are looking at GDP based on certain scenarios and then certain things that will affect these scenarios like rates of infection, vaccine availability, then fear and uncertainty, and then financial aid. So they were doing forecasts for the GDP and job growth. And to summarize, the most likely scenario that will happen, economy is going to be down in a range between 5 to 8%. But unfortunately, that depends on so many factors and so many elements like vaccine availability, people being willing to take vaccine, distribution of vaccine, and some others. So quickly now, I know I'm running out of the time. The plan for economic recovery and resilience is on our website. I will encourage you to go to GOED's website cover page and read the plan. So many information there, including the forecast study that I was mentioning. And then certain things will definitely starting to change because of pandemic and will change in 2021 and in the future. And this is this new normal that we are talking about, technology advancement, the way that businesses are operating now with adoption of technology, remote work, workplace disruptions, and new type of the workplace, new type of the jobs. And definitely rising government debt. As much as we do need government assistance, that always comes at a cost. So with that, I will finish my presentation. If you have any questions, here is the contact information. I will be more than happy to answer them. However, like I said, I would encourage you to go on our website and get all this information for CARES Act funds, PETS program, new information, and then as well as for plan for recovery and resilience. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.